Hi guys, my name is Jamie Lee, and if you like, grab your Bible and read along. We're going to be reading Matthew 8 to 10. If not, listening is just fine too. When Jesus came down from the mountain, large crowds followed him. And a leper came to him and bowed down before him and said, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus stretched out his hand and touched him, saying, "I am willing, be cleansed." And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said to him, "See that you tell no one, but go, show yourself to the priest and present the offering that Moses commanded as a testimony to them." And when Jesus entered Capernaum, the centurion came to him, imploring him, and saying, "Lord, my servant is lying paralyzed at home, fearfully tormented." Jesus said to him, "I will come and heal him." But the centurion said, "Lord, I am not worthy for you to come under my roof, but just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I am a man under authority, with soldiers under me, and I can say this to one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another one, 'Come,' and he comes, and to my slave, 'Do this,' and he does it." Now when Jesus heard this, he marveled and said to those who were following, "Truly I say to you, I have not found such great faith in anyone in Israel. I say to you that many will come from east and west and recline at the table with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." And Jesus said to the centurion, "Go, it shall be done for you as you have believed." And the servant was healed in that very moment. When Jesus came into Peter's home, he saw his mother-in-law lying sick in bed with a fever. He touched her hand, and the fever left her. She got up and waited on him. When evening came, they brought to him many who were demon-possessed, and he cast out the spirits with a word and healed all who were ill. This was to fulfill what was spoken through Isaiah the prophet. He himself took our infirmities and carried away our diseases. Now when Jesus saw a crowd around him, he gave orders to depart the other side of the sea. Then a scribe came and said to him, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus said to him, "The foxes have holes and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." Another of the disciples said to him, Lord, permit me first to go and bury my father." But Jesus said, "Follow me and allow the dead to bury their own dead." When he got into the boat, his disciples followed him. And behold, there arose a great storm on the sea, so that the boat was being covered with the waves, but Jesus himself was asleep. And they came to him and woke him, saying, "Save us, Lord, we are perishing." He said to them, "Why are you afraid, you men of little faith?" Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the sea, and it became perfectly calm. The men were amazed and said, "What kind of man is this, that even the winds of the sea obey him?" Then he came to the other side in the country of the Gadarenes. 2 men who were demon-possessed met him as they were coming out of the tombs. They were so extremely violent that no one could pass by that way. And they cried out, saying, "What business do we have with each other, Son of God? Have you come here to torment us before the time?" Now there was a herd of many swine feeding at the distance from them. The demons began to entreat him, saying, "If you are going to cast us out, send us into the herd of swine." And he said to them, "Go." And they came out and went into the swine, and the whole herd rushed down into the steep bank into the sea and perished in the waters. The herdsmen ran away and went into the city and reported everything, including what had happened to the demoniac. And behold, the whole city came out to Jesus. When they saw him, they implored him to leave their region. Getting into a boat, Jesus crossed over the sea and came to his own city. And they brought him a paralytic lying on the bed. Seeing their faith, Jesus said to the paralytic, "Take courage, son, your sins are forgiven." And some of the scribes said to themselves, "This fellow blasphemies." And Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said, "Why are you thinking evil in your heart? Which is easier to say, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Get up and walk'? But so that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins." Then he said to the paralytic, "Get up, pick up your bed, and go home." And then he got up and went home. But when the crowd saw this, they were awestruck and glorified God, who had given authority to men. As Jesus went on from there, he saw a man called Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he got up and followed him. Then it happened, as Jesus was reclining at the table in the house, behold, many tax collectors and sinners came up and were dining with Jesus and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, "Why is your teacher eating with the tax collectors and sinners?" But when Jesus heard this, he said, "It is not those who are healthy who need a physician, but those who are sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire compassion and not sacrifice, for I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners." Then the disciples of John came to him asking, "Why do we and the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast?" And Jesus said to them, "The attendants of the bridge room cannot mourn as long as the bridge room is with them, can they? But the days will come when the bridge room is taken away from them, and then they will fast. But no one puts a patch of unshrunk cloth on an old garment, for the patch pulls away from the garment, and worse tear result. Nor do people put new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the wineskins burst, and the wine pours out, and the wineskins are ruined. But they put new wine into fresh wineskins, and both are preserved." While he was saying these things to them, a synagogue official came and bowed down before him and said, "My daughter has just died, but come lay your hand on her, and she will live." Jesus got up and began to follow him, and so did his disciples. And a woman who had been suffering from a hemorrhage for 12 years came up behind him and touched the fringe of his cloak. For she was saying to herself, "If only I touch his garment, I will get well." But Jesus, turning and seeing her, said, "Daughter, take courage. Your faith has made you well." At once, the woman was made well. When Jesus came into the official's house and saw the flute players and the crowd in noisy disorder, he said, "Leave, for the girl has not died, but is asleep." And they began laughing at him. But when the crowd had been set out, he entered and took her by hand, and the girl got up. This news spread throughout the land. As Jesus went on from there, 2 blind men followed him, crying out, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." When he entered the house, the blind man came up to him and said, "Jesus," to them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" They said, "Yes, Lord." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "It shall be done to you according to your faith." And their eyes opened, and Jesus sternly warned them, "See that no one knows about this." But when they went out and spread the news about him throughout all that land, and they were going out, a mute, demon-possessed man was brought to him. After the demon was cast out, the mute man spoke, and the crowds were amazed. And they were saying, "Nothing like this has ever been seen in Israel." But the Pharisees were saying, "He cast out the demons by the ruler of the demon." Jesus was going through all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every kind of disease and every kind of sickness. Seeing the people, he felt compassion for them because they were distressed and dispirited like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Therefore, beseech the Lord of harvest to send out your workers into his harvest." Jesus summoned his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to cast them out and to heal every kind of disease and every kind of sickness. Now the names of the 12 apostles are these: the first, Simon, who was called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, and James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother, Philip, and oh boy, here we go, Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed him. These 12 Jesus sent out after instructing them, "Do not go in the way of the Gentiles, and do not enter any city of the Samaritans, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And as you go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out the demons. Freely you received, freely give. Do not acquire gold or silver or copper for your money belts, or a bag for your journey, or even 2 coats or sandals or a staff, for the worker is worthy of his support. In whatever city or village you enter, inquire who is worthy in it, and stay at his house until you leave that city. As you enter the house, give it your greeting. If the house is worthy, give it your blessing of peace. But if it is not worthy, take back your blessing of peace. Whoever does not receive you, nor heed your words, as you go out of that house or that city, shake the dust off your feet. Truly I say to you, it will be more tolerable for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than for the city. Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be shrewd as serpent and innocent as doves. But beware of men, for they will hand you over to the courts and scourge you in their synagogues. And you will even be brought before governors and kings for my sake as a testimony to them and to the Gentiles. But when they hand you over, do not worry about how or what you will say, for it will be given to you in that hour what you are to say. For it is not you who speak, but it is the Spirit of your Father who speaks in you. Brother will betray brother to death, and father his child, and children will rise up against parents and cause them to be put to death. You will be hated by all because of my name, but it is the one who has endured to the end who will be saved. But whoever they persecute you in one city, flee to the next, for I truly say to you, you will not finish going through the cities of Israel until the Son of Man comes. A disciple is not above his teacher, nor a slave above his master. It is enough for the disciple that he becomes like his teacher, and the slave like his master. If they have called the head of the house Beelzebul, how much more will they malign the members of this household? Therefore, do not fear him, for there is nothing concealed that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. What I tell you in the darkness, speak in the light. What you hear whispered in your ear, proclaim upon the housetops. Do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a cent, and yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father? But the very hairs of your head are all numbered, so do not fear, you are more valuable than many sparrows. Therefore, everyone who confesses me before men, I will also confess him before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I will also deny him before my Father who is in heaven. Do not think that I came to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I came to set man against his father, a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's enemies will be in the members of his household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he who does not take his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me. He who has found his life will lose it, and he who has lost his life for my sake will find it. He who receives you receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. He who receives a prophet in the name of prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. And he who receives a righteous man in the name of righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. And whoever in the name of a disciple gives to one of these little ones even a cup of cold water to drink, truly I say to you, he shall not lose his reward. I hope that everybody learned something or felt something from this reading, just like I did. And thank you for being here with me today. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
Hi, friend, and welcome to Fear into Faith Global Bible Revival, where we're on a mission to get 1 million people to read the Bible cover to cover in a year. I'm your host, Summer Day, and with me in the studio are Tim and Jamie. Woo!
Hello.
I got that one right.
Yes, you
It
did.
was one of the easiest ones I've done so far, if I'm being honest, but I got it right. Y'all are amazing.
Cool.
So happy to be here.
Thanks for having us.
So excited.
Okay, tell the audience just a little bit about who you are, where you're from.
Sure. Jamie and I are both originally from Buffalo, New York. So if anybody's familiar with Toronto,
Wait,
Canada,
you guys know each other?
yeah, a little bit. We just met on the way in here, actually. Believe it or not.
Come on!
Yeah.
Jesus blind date.
We really hit it off. Hey,
Hey, you know what? You might be prophesying something that might happen on the show later. Some people, I don't know.
could be. Never knows. So we're originally from Buffalo, New York, and the last 2 years we picked up and moved to Sarasota, Florida.
It's
So
beautiful
sun,
there.
fun, lots of these palm trees,
Come on.
nice stuff. Yeah. We're about 20 minutes from the coast. We're at the beach frequently, so
Oh,
it's great. It's great. We got
y'all are married?
Yep, we're married.
Well, you-
Together 9 years.
9 years.
Yep.
But married 2 years.
Married 2.
And we have
Yep.
a little sweet 4-year-old girl named Charlie.
Sure.
And our newest addition,
Oh, yes.
Vinny.
I've seen Vinny.
Yes.
Vinny is a super cute little love.
Yeah. Italian Greyhounds. Oh, yes.
Yep.
I was like, I could not tell you what kind of dog it is, other than it's so cute and squishy.
Yes.
That's right.
Maybe on the last segment, we're going to have to bring Vinny in. You have to be a star of the show. I love it. You guys are so awesome. So you came all the way from Sarasota to be a part of this. And so
Yep.
we're just really,
Yeah,
really
we found out, I don't even know if it's been a week since we found out about this, but we were super pumped to meet everybody and be a part of it. And I booked the flight, and now here we are. So
I am just stunned. I have to be honest with you guys. When God was like giving us idea, I never really thought people would jump on a plane and come here, and I didn't think they would do it if within a week. And I thought if they didn't know me, there's no way they would do it. So the Lord is always just blowing my mind on the people that are showing up. All right. So the first question I love asking people: you both recorded your Bible readings today. How did that go, Tim?
for me, I right before I went to the restroom to relieve myself, make sure, take one last look in the mirror, and I said, this is in God's hands. Yeah. I just totally have to remove myself from any real participation other than just showing up, getting in the chair, picking up the book, and starting to read. And what I found is that I was nervous in the beginning, but it melts it away, right? And it seems to do that for me when I just turn things over like that.
I love it. You did a great job. You did a great job. I know you have a little bit of story with your reading.
Yeah. So when I found out what it was reading, I read his and was like, I'm not doing this one. I need yours. I'm taking your reading. And he was like, oh, really? Thanks. And I'm like, I don't care. There's too many names. I studied all the names in my reading. And then all of a sudden, you're like, well, we changed your reading. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah, because you went after him, and he had read all of your ones you were going to read.
But he read all your readings, and then you're like, now what? But God gave me literally the easiest reading on all 3. So, thank you.
Yay!
Yes.
Yeah, I was a little nervous because I'm like, I don't know Jamie, but we gave her all the readings, and then now she's not going to do it.
Yeah, I know. I was not excited or happy about that, but I was going to show up and knew that God would speak through me no matter what. And if I stumbled on my words, like, who cares, because I'm human. So,
That's right.
Thank you for reading. And honestly, like, that's what we want. We want people that are just real people. If they stumble over their words, then maybe people are like, oh, I don't have to be perfect to read the Bible.
yeah.
Yay.
Yep.
So good. Well, we also like talking to people just about their just kind of journey, their journey with God. We've had people that were born and raised in the church. We've had people that were not. We've had people that even only came to know God super recently that have been on the show. So I'd love to just tap into a little bit of just that for you. I know you and I got to talk about your story which is amazing. Maybe you could share just a little bit first, and you
go first.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. So I was born and raised Catholic. Participated in a church local up in Buffalo. Baptized, confirmed, everything in between. As the years went on, I think that I found myself like I've heard other people describe and stuff. You sort of get distracted, right? Like life happens, and I think that what I tend to attribute it to is I try to control the situation myself, right? Like I don't allow something else to come in and offer guidance, right? I'm not listening. And so, I spent a lot of years in a world where I was trying to run the show, right? And I was trying to manage myself and everybody else around me, right? Myself being, both my spiritual self and physical self, trying to, take anything that was in front of me to feel a certain way, whatever. I reached out and tried to just grab anything tangible that would fix whatever I had going on inside of me. And this is actually how we met is we both got involved in some service work for other people who struggled similar to us, with substances and whatnot. And that's really the first introduction to finding a place where I could communicate with something again, right? Where I could show up and have a purpose and feel connected to something other than like my will, right? Like what I want for myself. Like I want new clothes and I want a new car and I want all this stuff, right? But it's like, I really had to take a look through my actions and just through life experience and say, this is not working for me, right? And me running the show is not working for me. And I needed an intervention, from something, right? Something bigger than myself. I needed something bad. So and let me tell you this, it happened. Wow. And that was almost a decade ago.
Wow.
So, we've been doing this for a while.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Well, I know you have an incredible story, so whatever part, however you want to share about all that.
Yeah. Okay. So I grew up in a trailer park, alcoholic mom, only child. Very lonely childhood, very lonely, eventually turned into self-sabotaging behaviors and turning to drugs, trying to find myself and it was just in so much pain. And so I didn't grow up with religion, with God. I had none of that. And so it wasn't something where I was like, are you real? Are you not? It was just like, this is my life and it's horrible. I was living in hell. And eventually, I was 26 years old on the streets using drugs, and I got arrested, 3C felonies, and I went to jail. And it was there for the first time on my own that I prayed to God, and I said, God, if you're there, help me to want to stop using drugs, because I didn't, because my body wanted it and craved it. Yeah. My flesh did, right? But my soul wanted something different. And so that was my soul, right? And that was my first introduction. And it was God who told me to write, you can do it on the wall. And I remember doing it in like this pencil, because they only gave you pencils.
Did you get in trouble? Were you allowed to write
for sure. They were like, you're not allowed to do that. And I was just like, and so I wrote, you can do it on the wall in big capital letters, and I read it every day, and I thought if I read it, I would actually believe it. And so I was looking at 7 years in prison, and, that person who was wronged against because of drug addiction did not show up to court, and I was released.
Wow.
Yep, and I got my life together.
How often does that happen?
I don't think often. No, I don't think that's like a thing.
Normally, I wouldn't recommend anybody try and end up in that situation.
Yeah, don't try.
We shouldn't test to find out. But it's not something that I at first had knowledge of. And I'm thinking if you've wronged someone, they're probably most likely to show up. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to take a break really quick. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back right after this. And then, that's amazing.
Are you traveling long-term internationally? Moving to another country? How's your furry family member going to get there? You won't be able to just buy them a plane ticket. There's a whole series of processes and red tape that no one wants to sift through. You need a partner. You need Doggone Taxi. We take the confusion and headache out of moving your pet to your new country. We take care of the shipping, the fees, the health permits, and anything else that your destination country requires. Visit doggonetaxi.com and get your free move quote today. That's doggontaxi.com.
All right, we are back with Tim and Jamie, and we were talking about how you, I don't know what the difference between prison and jail is. Which one were you at?
Oh, I went to jail. Prison's like long term.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you went to jail, and that's when you had experience with God, and he told you to write, "You can do it" on the wall. So awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of what was next?
Yeah, so I got out, and this was my chance. This was my shot. I knew it. I had an abusive boyfriend who was also just getting out of jail, which I would later send on to prison for 10 more years because, you know, he was somebody who shouldn't be in society, and I was afraid for my life anyways. But so this is my shot, and I knew it. And so I started doing so many things. I started running and taking care of my health, and I joined a program, you know, for people like me. And this is where I like found God. Like that was an introduction, but this is where I found God. And we would go through a step process. So there's 12 steps.
Yeah.
And on my third step, you know, I've had so many spiritual white light experiences going through the steps. But my first time, I was told to go hit my knees and say this prayer out loud. And I was going to read this, and I was going to read my own prayer that I wrote myself. And I did it. And I just surrendered. Like I had just been in so much pain and trying to control my life, and it got me nowhere except just in terrible situations. And I pushed away the thought of God and religion my entire life. It felt uncomfortable to me. I was very uncomfortable. And I said that prayer and I meditated after, but when I had a white light experience, my body felt different. I was different. I was no longer that person after I had begun praying and just said, take my will, take my life, guide me, right?
I remember when I asked you earlier about what you meant, because I was like, what do you mean with a white light experience? You were explaining it as like, go explain. What did you say?
Yeah, I felt white light go through my entire body, and it didn't leave.
Wow.
You know, like I felt lighter. Like if you could imagine being full of light.
Yeah. Wow. It was
like,
permeated
I'm
from
different.
head to toe.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said that was how long ago?
10 years ago.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, it's almost like just being washed white as snow.
Yeah.
Like, and just in that moment.
Start over. You can start over. Yeah.
So fabulous. You hear about a lot of people that struggle with drug addiction and different stuff like that, and they don't always get that moment. They don't always have that thing where they get hit, where everything's filled with that white light. I just think that's amazing. And I love, too, that you haven't thrown that away, right? You've seized that, and it's been a critical part of just sort of your journey and everything. And I just think that's amazing. And you guys both have such a powerful and inspiring story, because we know there's millions of people in this country, substance abuse and all that kind of stuff. So thanks for being willing to be, vulnerable and share all of that, which is really, really cool. All of you guys were here. Thanks for saying.
To the show.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys have that you're kind of working on now, or?
I guess I'll just take one step back and add what one of the people that we worked with right around that time, this gentleman, is probably the gentleman who took you to the church and then did that with you. He used to talk about spiritual experience in a way that, like, when you experience something like Jamie describes, or I'm more of like the educational variety, right, where I just have to show up, right, I have to participate. Even when it doesn't feel good, even when I don't want to, and
Okay, hold on. That's so good, though. We don't want that lost.
Cool.
Even when I don't want to.
Even when I don't want to.
So many times the Lord's calling us to do things, and we let our flesh get in the way because we don't want to. I love that.
That's
so
right.
good.
It's just, it's about consistency. I mean, for me, like, I work a lot in the business world, like a numbers guy, taxes, stuff like that, all the good stuff, right? But it's something that, like, consistency leads to success, right? And there's an element to that in this. Success is a tough way to put in this world, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. It's about showing up no matter what, right? No matter what. We used to talk about these non-negotiable things, but what he said was a spiritual experience is a profound experience that, so much so that you never go back to sleep, right? A spiritual awakening, rather, let's say. You're awakened to this new state of mind, right?
You can check out the rest of this interview right here or by going to BibleRevival.tv. And if this show has blessed you, you can help us bless others by partnering with us for as little as $20 a month and help us to expand the reach of this show. We'd also like to invite you to join our Kingdom Discipleship Program, where you have an opportunity to get on weekly Bible Zoom calls with us and people around the world to deep dive into His Word. And you can check all that out at BibleRevival.tv. I'll see you next time, my friend.